It's that time. Update. Remember how we were just listening to somebody, Thomas Massey?
Secretary Buttigieg, I've been driving an electric car for 10 years, and I've had solar panels for 15 years, and I'm really bullish on technology and the way it could help make our country energy independent or more energy independent. But I'm really alarmed at sort of the naivete of those who are promoting rapid adoption of these technologies with our existing infrastructure. President Biden signed a non-binding executive order stating that 50% of vehicles sold in the United States should be electric by 2030. Do you support that?
Yes.
Who was asking the state about the 2030 agenda for 50% of all the vehicles in the USA being electric by 2030. And how it would even the infrastructure of the power grid be able to handle that? And where is the plan of action for the power grid to handle all these charging, this essentially 50 times the amount of energy used by your refrigerator?
Do you think it would strain the grid if everybody plugged in 25 refrigerators in every household?
Well, if we didn't make any upgrades to the grid, sure. I mean, if we had yesterday's grid with tomorrow's cars, it's not going to work. It's one of the reasons why we believe that infrastructure includes electrical infrastructure and argued for that to be included, as it thankfully was in the bipartisan law.
Do you think by 2030, which is when Biden says 50% of cars sold should be electric, do you think the grid will be capable of handling electric cars?
It's going to need to be, and we're working with the Department.
And so on that subject, I am in Vernon, BC, and I was just learned that the power is out because like a family was over. It's like, sweet setup. And I'm like, yeah, it works well. And they're like, at least you have power and water, as I was using the outside shower, because the rest of Vernon is in a blackout right now.
If that average household plugged in electric cars, do you know how much more electricity they would use in comparison to the air conditioning that air conditions their whole house?
No, but again, I would emphasize it will
let me help you with
overall.
that first before we go on, because the numbers are important. It would take 4 times as much electricity to charge the average household's cars as the average household uses on air conditioning. Do you think that could be? So if we reach the goal by 2030 that Biden has of 50% adoption instead of 100% adoption, that means the average household would use twice as much electricity charging one of their cars as they would use for all of the air conditioning that they use for the entire year. Do you think this could contribute to rolling blackouts and brownouts in areas of the country where air conditioning is basically considered essential?
Not if we prepare. Look, the fact that people who have electric vehicles are going to use more electricity.
Okay, well, it looks like the power is back on now. I'm not sure how long the blackout was for, but it just brings me to my point. Today was super hot, nice summer day for the Okanagan, a regular summer day, 90 Fahrenheit. And the air conditioners are all going full blast in all the buildings and houses, and the infrastructure cannot handle it. Nobody is building new infrastructures. Let's just go back to the last 2 years. Where's all the plus million hospitals? Why didn't every major city build another second hospital if there was no room and the beds in the ICUs are all full? They keep complaining everyone needs to stay home to help the hospitals from being overloaded. Yet was even one new hospital ever built in this last 2.5 years? I don't know. I can tell you from what I know, that was never where any of the directives went. It was never for common sense. Because if common sense says, if we need more beds, we need more place to put people, let's build a hospital. And you can build buildings pretty damn quick. I've seen skyscrapers in the Kelowna go up in a freaking year, let alone a freaking hospital building.
Climate change is an emergency. And in the coming weeks, I'm going to use the power I have as president to turn these words into formal, official government actions through the appropriate proclamations, executive orders, and regulatory power that the president possesses.
So again, Buddy's point from Kentucky is there is no infrastructure to handle the cars. the electric cars. You cannot mandate something in 7 years from now and have no infrastructure to handle it. Now, there's a new point I want to bring out that probably nobody's even thinking about. All these green people, I'm gonna be green and let's all run electric. Well, where's the cobalt coming from to build these batteries? Who owns all the cobalt plants? There's like 19 in the world. Who owns 15 of them? The Communist Party of China, the CCP, guys. And where are all these cobalt mines that are owned by the Communist China? What people are suffering? Where is the blood cobalt mines? Remember blood diamonds? Blood cobalt mines. Think about it.
As the longer range vehicle requires about 10 pounds of cobalt, more than 400 times the amount in a cell phone. So it is either continue to buy from Chinese regime-controlled companies that controls not just cobalt, but a wide range of rare earth minerals, ores, and other refinement as well as the processing components, or stop the attempt at the rapid transition into clean energy because the cost is this. Attorney ch.il.d testified before Congress this month. He says the children are trafficked to work in the mines, chosen because of their size. They're forced to work grueling hours and face injury and disease. By buying from China, Americans and anyone in the world, perhaps, who is still cozy to the Chinese Communist Party are actively participating in this modern-day slavery in Africa. And the green agenda may not seem so green after all, but rather red. Bloody batteries of the electric cars. More than half of the usage of cobalt is for lithium-ion batteries, which powers the car, and cobalt itself is used for stabilizing the batteries. In this particular case, the Chinese Communist Party's quest for cobalt for batteries and lithium for solar panels to power the so-called green economy means sacrificing an estimated 40,000 children in Congo working in non-regulated mines under hazardous conditions.
I'll give you the answer. In this case, it's the children from the Congo. The Communist Party of China has all these cobalt plants, which then now the US is saying we're going to all go electric and we're all going to get our cobalt from China, which is getting it from the slavery of Congo children. There's an insider report from China Insider from David Zhang. He has a whole story about this on his YouTube channel.
Chinese government-backed mining companies are using Congolese children to mine cobalt, a key in electric car batteries. Are American car makers helping China to exploit African children? China holds the world's dominant cobalt processing. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, unsafe working conditions, less than $1 a day, injuries, and diseases inside the mines. Are these the consequences of a greener world? And are bloody batteries made from cobalt the best source of the future of cars?
Going into the details, how all the manufacturers, from Volkswagen as one example, they're getting all their cobalt on contracts to the Communist Party. Every company from China is under the Communist Party. The cobalt is coming from the slavery and the deaths and the abuse for $1 a day. Children paid $1 a day in the Congo to go in the underground tunnels just big enough for kids to mine the cobalt. So if you are supporting this 2030 agenda, you are supporting the bloody children of the Congo being killed. It's blood batteries, guys. This is blood batteries. I know nobody knows about this. There's so many things that you just don't know and I don't know, and we're all learning every day. It is absolutely terrible what's going on here. Okay, I'm gonna throw in some clips from the bloody batteries. Let's take a look, guys. Marcel Irnie, Irnieracing News.
Welcome to China Insider. I'm David Zhang. According to human rights lawyer Ervi Dayakis Kyungu, China is using Congolese children to work in cobalt mines. Cobalt is a mineral used in electric car batteries. It is found in crustal rocks in mines deep into the Earth's crust. This is a key part of China's competition with the United States over who can rule in the new and emerging technology market, namely the electric car market. And that means exploiting 40,000 children in cobalt mines in the Democratic Republic of Congo. At the same time, the so-called green agenda to transform into clean energy vehicles are adding to the process of helping China to exploit the children and adults alike, instead of relying on clean American-made energy in oil and gas that is humane to oil and gas workers who are paid well, they decide to go to Africa to get the exploitation instead. Electric car makers like Volkswagen source their cobalt from China, who produces a dominant percentage of the global cobalt production that comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo. According to the New York Times, American car makers General Motors and Tesla also buy from China. American automakers like Ford, GM, and Tesla buy cobalt battery components from suppliers that depend in part on Chinese-owned mines in Congo. China owns up to 80% of the cobalt refining in the world and up to 50% of its production in the world. By the time that cobalt inside a lithium-ion battery reaches the United States, installed inside a Tesla, it has gone through the hands of China. Chinese companies as of 2020 owned 15 of the 19 Congo mines producing cobalt. A lawsuit removed one of the ownership, but it is still not enough. Meanwhile,